Is my Leyland cypress tree dying? I think it's probably a question that all Leyland cypress tree owners will end up asking themselves eventually. I have several of these, and I want to point out what are the trends I'm seeing on my trees and what I've seen in Middle Tennessee with other Leyland cypress trees. Starting with this one, you can see it looks pretty green at the top here. Fairly green foliage. Not much wrong, but as you go down, you start to see a few dead twigs, dead scraps of foliage here and there. That's known as flagging. And you can see some more extensive die-off areas. And kind of the further you go down the tree, the worse it looks. Now, it is true that conifers, as they get taller and the lower branches become shaded, they will lose those lower branches through a process known as self-pruning, where the foliage falls off and the branches die. But I don't think that's what's going on here with this Leyland cypress. We had a major freeze in December of 2022, and here we are now in March of 2025. And since that time, I've seen that after the major freeze, Leyland cypress trees all around Nashville have entered into a state of decline, and a lot of them have died completely and been removed, and others are like this one with a very slow decline, but some of the ones in my collection are a little bit more advanced. Take a look from this view. You can see that although some of the foliage is nice and dark green, a lot of it has gone this off green color, and then when you actually touch it, you realize it's completely dead. See how that just crumbles into nothingness there? This is all dead foliage. And what I've noticed is that the tree is drying out and dying from the bottom up. Now this interior brown stuff is truly due to shading, and the interior of the Leyland cypress does hollow out. But for the exterior foliage to be dying like this is completely abnormal. And nothing has really changed. It was pretty dry last year, I would say, but there was some rain. And you also have to remember that Leyland cypress is a hybrid species. It's not a pure species. It's a hybrid of two different things. One is the Alaskan yellow cedar, which is native to the rainforests of southern Alaska, and I guess maybe British Columbia. And then the other constituent species is Monterey cypress, which is native to the California coast. See, this part is still alive. And Monterey cypress is fairly drought tolerant because the coast of California has a Mediterranean climate with hot, dry summers, or at least cool, dry summers. Not much rain in the summer, and then mostly rain in the winter. So it can go a long time without water, but I think that there's a combination of factors affecting it. Number one, it was drier than normal. Number two, we had that major freeze damage in 2022, which damaged a lot of foliage and allowed for infection to take root or take hold. And then these trees have always had a problem in the southeastern United States with fungal infections, especially Ceridium canker. But I think Cercospora fungus is also a factor. And then you combine all of those things, and I think it creates a growing environment that is very precarious for the Leyland cypress. And although it can grow quickly when it's young, as it matures, the cumulative impact of all of these negative factors build up and ultimately result in premature tree death. Let's check another one. Okay, on this one, if you look very closely at the very top up there, let's see if I can zoom in. So those dead branches are due to the December 2022 deep freeze. And then if I zoom back out, you can see there some growth regrew during the summer of 23 and summer of 24. But since that time, the tree has started the death from the bottom going up pattern. And you can see this foliage here lower down is already dead. And so there's really no coming back from that, and you can just go ahead and check your own Leyland cypress tree if you're not sure by kind of comparing the foliage at the top to the foliage near the bottom. And even though it looks green, it wouldn't matter how much you watered this tree. There's nothing to bring back from death here because these are already dead. So once you start down that, see, I trimmed a few of the lower branches thinking maybe, it's just hollowing out, getting shaded here, but that's not the case because there would be no biological reason for these healthy branches that get plenty of sunlight to just die all of a sudden. So to me, it's become obvious that my Leyland cypress trees have entered the Leyland cypress decline pattern, and I will remove them and replant something else that is not Leyland Cypress in this spot. Two other bits of information about this. I do have some Leyland Cypress trees that are still small, mainly because they were partially shaded, and they don't seem to be as badly affected, but this one looks pretty good here. Here's another one where the top of it looks very good, but if you look at the bottom, you can already see that flagging and premature death really for no reason, and that tells me it's probably just a matter of time before this one dies. I'm not as urgent about doing something with this one, but just to let you know, you can kind of even notice it on the little ones. I'll step back and let you get a look at the whole tree here. Looks pretty good up top. At the bottom you see some problems are starting. And the other data point to consider is there is such a thing as a Murray cypress, which is sometimes labeled Murray Leyland cypress, and it's a dispute as to whether or not it's a different hybrid or just a more vigorous cutting of the same hybrid between the two species that I mentioned before, Alaskan yellow cedar and Monterey cypress. I have several of these, and they do not seem to be having the same problem anywhere, really. The foliage looks good all over. They were not really affected by the cold as much as the regular Leyland cypress, so that's one thing. And they are a lot more vigorous growers. They grow taller, straighter, faster, and just seem to be better all around. So if you do have Murray cypress, then maybe you're not going to be as affected by the Leyland cypress decline. But just keep an eye on it. I think that the little bit of brown I see here and there is probably insignificant, but if I do start to see major dieback, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I will end up deciding that the Murray cypress is also affected by the multiple factors that lead to the death of the Leyland cypress. But so far, my Murray cypress trees seem to be doing a lot better than my Leyland cypress trees, and I plan to leave them in the ground as long as possible.